Good afternoon. My name is Jeffrey Herbst, and I am president of American Jewish University in Los Angeles. And I'd like to welcome you to a very special Maven program with Masih Alinejad, Iranian journalist and activist, the woman whose hair frightens Iran. In 2014, she spearheaded a Facebook page called My Stealthy Freedom to protest Iran's compulsory hijab laws for women and girls. Her commitment to promoting human rights in her home country has won her many awards. Her memoir, The Wind in My Hair, My Fight for Freedom in Modern Iran, was released in 2018, and today she lives in exile in New York City. Masih, welcome. It's so great to have you on the platform.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited. And I wish we could make it in person, but I'm very happy to be with you.
Thank you so much. Maybe we could begin by describing your path to activism. What was it like to grow up in Iran under this regime, and why the issue of the hijab in particular became of such central importance to you?
First of all, I have to say that being a woman means that from early age, actually, being 7-year-old girl, you have to fight for every single rights in Iran. What does it mean? It means that when you are 7-year-old, if you don't cover your hair, you won't be able to go to school. So of course, me growing up in a tiny village in a very traditional family, I never had a clue about feminism, equality, discrimination, nothing. So clearly, I was not like being educated by educational system or even cartoons, cinema, film, books, not at all. To be a feminist or to be a rebel or to be a warrior or to be an activist. I had a little brother in my tiny village, and he was able to jump in a beautiful river in my village. He was able to ride a bicycle. He was able to go to a stadium. He was able to sing, to dance, to show his hair, to do all kinds of activities that he really wanted to do. But I was banned from all of them just because of being a girl. So clearly, by watching him, I became a rebel, because it was really, for me, was unfair to watching my brother to enjoy himself and be his true self, but me being behind the curtain. So that is why I actually started my own revolution from my family's kitchen. How? I remember that I grew up in a very poor family. We didn't have running water, we didn't have electricity, we didn't even have inside bathrooms. So I had to use the outhouse, which was in the backyard garden. And I remember that I was scared of the darkness. So my mom used to tell me that if you're really scared of the darkness gonna swallow you all. The darkness gonna devour you. But instead of being scared of the darkness, if you open your eyes as wide as you can, you stare into the darkness, then the darkness will disappear. So as a kid, I thought this is a fact. And I used to do it, and it worked. So, and then my brother was the one who was scared of the darkness. And I said to my brother, okay, during the day, you're the one, you always go out, you play with your friends, you enjoy your freedom. But during the night, you're scared of the darkness. I'm going to take you to the outhouse every night when you need it. But during the day, you have to take me out. You have to teach me how to ride a bicycle. You have to teach me how to play football. You have to teach me how to swim, because this is all I'm being banned. So you see, I made my brother to be an ally, to enjoy my freedom, to take my freedom back from my family, from social, from the laws, from everything. And that worked. So that was my path, being a rebel from like early age. But of course, high school is different. When you go to school, you cannot use men or your school boys classmate an ally, because they are being brainwashed as well. You know, I grew up in a country where I was told that I have to say death to America as loud as the White House could hear us. I was brainwashed to say death to Israel as loud as the Tel Aviv can hear us. So in such society, men are divided from women. We are being brainwashed to hate everyone. So what we did we actually, me and my brother, we actually started to read books, which we were banned to read those books. We started to have our own group, student activities, spreading pamphlets around, like making awareness about our basic rights and introducing people to read other books that, you know, which we're not allowed to read it in our schools. That's how I got involved in student activities, which end up to be in jail early age. But this is very important to end up. Everything that they did to me, it was like darkness. I experienced a lot of darkness in my life, but my mom told me, instead of being scared of the darkness, I have to open my eyes, go toward the darkness and be successful. This is what I did in my life.
Masih, in 2022, many Americans have trouble understanding why women's hair should be such an issue in Iran. Can you explain the issue of the hijab, women's hair, and why this is so threatening to the regime?
Look, first of all, I have to say that hijab, when it's compulsory, is in the hand of the Islamic Republic, ISIS, and Taliban. It's not just a small piece of cloth. So for us Iranians, compulsory hijab, which we cover our hair, is a tool to oppress us. It's like, you know, when you go to Iran, the first thing that you understand, this is a country under the control of Islamic Republic, is what? It's us, it's the women. Through us, you understand, oh, okay, this is being controlled by a religious government. And that is why I strongly believe that compulsory hijab is like the main visible symbol of a religious dictatorship. So right after the revolution, 40 years ago, that was the first thing that the Islamic Republic decided to write their own ideology on our body. So clearly, we, the women of Iran, carrying the main pillar of religious dictatorship with us every day. So for the Islamic Republic, compulsory hijab, it's very important because this is how they control not only women, they control the whole society through women. And I actually want to tell your audiences that maybe they have no clue about when I talk about compulsory hijab. They might say, okay, you know, it's just a small piece of cloth, you can wear it. It's not as easy as you think, because, for example, if you walk publicly, like in public, unveiled, of course, you get lashes. But forget about that. Imagine that you're wearing hijab, just a bit of your hair is shown, immediately you get fined, you get arrested, you get harassed, you get beaten up by morality police. And for those who don't have any idea about morality police, it's just a bunch of officers walking around and telling you that cover yourself properly. This is what happened to Mahsa Amini. 22-year-old girl, you know about the story, that she got killed in the hand of hijab police, which now sparked a revolution in Iran.
Let's talk about the current revolt, which began on September 16th when Ms. Amini was killed and died in the hospital from wounds she received in custody. Why these revolts now? The morality police have been enforcing and brutalizing women from the start of the Iranian Revolution. Why this spark has lit such a great fire?
That's a very good question, because as you say, yeah, for years and years, morality police was like the main agent of the Islamic Republic to oppress women. But this time was different. First of all, because Mahsa was not part of any civil disobedience campaign. Mahsa was not even unveiled. She was just like left her hometown, Sardis, city of Kurdistan. She came to Tehran for a vacation. So clearly, her hijab was inappropriate. What happened, as soon as she got killed by morality police, it created a huge anger among every single person, because everybody relate to her story. Like mothers, fathers were saying that could have happened to our daughters. So you don't need to be part of anti-regime campaign. You don't need to be unveiled. If you just walk around, you go for a vacation, that could have happened to you. So that's why I strongly believe that Iranian people took to the streets across Iran. Another reason that actually sparked the revolution, Mahsa was a Kurdish woman. I have to say that in Kurdistan, people don't mourn, people don't cry when a person gets killed, executed, tortured to death by the Islamic Republic. They turned the funeral like massive protest. This is what they did in Mahsa's funeral. Oh my God, I still get goosebumps when I think about it. Women were waving their headscarf. Men were chanting against compulsory hijab and saying that we're all Mahsa. We're gonna fight you back. So that actually, for years and years, I have to tell you this as well, the Iranian regime called the Kurdish people separatists. They created fear among Iranians to stay away from people from Kurdistan. But now the people of Kurdistan became the symbol of unity. So the massive protests started from Kurdistan, then Zahedan, Tehran, Shiraz, Isfahan, everywhere, men and women. This is the first time we see sense of unity among everyone. For years and years, when Kurdish people were executed, a lot of people were saying that we're not Kurdish, so we're not going to get involved. When Jewish people were executed in Iran, people were like, we're not Jewish. When Baha'i minority were executed, people were like, we are not Baha'i. When Arabs, when Turks, but as soon as Mahsa got killed, people didn't say that we are not a woman. Everyone got united, and this unity is the key of, people are now angry and furious and saying that we will end this regime. We're not going to fight alone.
Masih, one of the signal characteristics of the current revolts is that they're led by women. A very large percentage of the people in the streets are women and girls. Maybe the first revolt in history with such a preponderance of women. That's somewhat different from the past. Does that surprise you?
Oh my God, to be honest, it makes me so proud to be an Iranian woman, but it didn't surprise me. 3 years ago at Stanford University, I gave a talk, and I was like very sure, saying that next revolution will be led by women of Iran. And I knew that because I knew the anger of Iranian women. I knew the frustration. I knew that women had enough, and they are going to end the gender apartheid regime. But that time, nobody believed me. Even the headline of my talk at Stanford University didn't go that viral because people were like, okay, Masih is exaggerating because she's leading the movement against compulsory hijab. Many other people in the West were like, we don't want to touch compulsory hijab issue because we don't want to cause Islamophobia. Many other people were saying in academia, because of white savior complex, we don't want to talk about this. This is the culture of Iranian people. We don't want to touch it, which, calling a barbaric law part of a nation's culture, this is an insult, but people didn't take that serious. But not only me, I guess millions of Iranian women, they have been waiting for this, that finally men and women shoulder to shoulder are going to protest not only against compulsory hijab, against the whole regime. So for me and millions of Iranians now, this is just beyond morality police. This is beyond compulsory hijab. It is about a regime actually kills people for expressing themselves, for just want to have a normal life, for want to have like freedom of choice. So for many people in the West now, yes, maybe they are surprised, but for us, no, we have been waiting for this for years and years.
Masih, there have been previous protests against the regime, the so-called Green Revolution in 2009. In 2019, perhaps 1,500 people were killed in protests. How are these revolts different?
Oh, that's a very good question. Look, first of all, this is the first time in our history that women in large number burning headscarves. And by burning headscarves means that they made up their mind that they're not going to accept humiliation anymore. And this is actually makes it different from previous one, because this is not about just economic. This is not about poverty. This is about dignity. This is about basic rights. This is about overthrowing a religious dictatorship. And another thing which is like makes it very different, this is the first time that we see well-known athletes saying that we no longer want to be part of the propaganda tool of the Islamic Republic, and they're quitting their jobs. This is the first time in our history that well-known actress, I mean, I was shocked from the first time when I saw that well-known actress removing their hijab, holding a sign and saying that we don't want to be part of the Islamic Republic propaganda tool to normalize such a barbaric regime. We never had this. We never had this like in Green Line movement or in 2019, not at all. And another thing which makes it very, very different from previous uprising in Iran, the revolution itself happened inside people's heart. People believe it that this is different. The more that the regime kills, the more people get determined to take back to the streets. And you know that as well, that this is the first time that we see sense of unity among the leaders of democratic countries as well. Look, just yesterday, the Islamic Republic got kicked out from the United Nations top women's body. We never had that. So this is all happening because of the people who are taking to the streets and facing guns and bullets. Look, teenagers are getting killed. Teenagers are getting killed. This is one of the most progressive revolution, and people believe that this is very different from all the massive uprising that we have been witnessing in our history.
Masih, one of the things that people have noted in the West is that there doesn't seem to be a clear leadership of the revolt. It's extremely decentralized. On the one hand, this makes it hard for the regime to suppress because there are no leaders to lock up. But on the other hand, does it pose a ceiling to what the revolts can actually accomplish?
To be honest, I mean, I don't want to say that this uprising is leaderless, because I see so many powerful women are leading this revolution within the country, inside Iran, which makes it beautiful. But if you mean that like it doesn't have a single leader, yeah, that's true. But this uprising, like being leaderless, doesn't mean that this is meaningless or is not going to get anywhere. And that actually, that's a question that often the journalists or even democratic leaders from democratic countries ask, that who we can talk when it doesn't have any leader. So the conversation is going behind the scene, because this is the first time the oppositions inside and outside Iran are united, because they know that Iranian people are determined to end of the Islamic Republic. So this is the moment that we have to make a coalition. We have to get together and have a front political group to introduce this revolution to the leaders of G7 and other countries who are ready to accept an Iran without the Islamic Republic. But as you mentioned, that it made it very difficult for the Islamic Republic to oppress people, to suppress this uprising, because if they go after like one of the activists, then you can see in Kurdistan, people take to the streets. I remember in 2009, there were so-called leaders, Mousavi and Karoubi, for the Green Movement. And immediately when the Islamic Republic put them under house arrest, or even like scare them, warn them that this protest is going to threat the whole regime, and they were the one actually taking the break and saying that, no, we are not against the whole regime. So, but this time, because the uprising is being led by ordinary teenagers, girls, women who are fed up with the Islamic Republic, that actually made it different and made it more successful. But as I said, yes, outside Iran, we have to come with a coalition to put pressure on the democratic countries to cut their ties with the Islamic Republic and recognize this revolution. We're getting there.
Masih, the Iranian regime has significant power. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard is loyal to the mullahs, and their very existence would be threatened if the regime changed. It also has significant repressive technology, much of it supplied by China. Do you think the regime will be able to suppress part or all of the revolt through brutality in these technologies that it has available?
The sad things, I mean, I'm happy that you talk about the technology and how can sometimes be against people in such dictatorship. Right now that I'm talking to you, a lot of people are struggling actually to have access to social media, the same social media which the leaders of the Islamic Republic enjoying freedom of expression on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And how ironic, Khamenei banned 80 million people from using the same, social media. So people are actually frustrated because they're asking the tech companies that, what are you going to do? When you all remember when Twitter kicked out President Trump, people were celebrating. Some of the left and liberal were celebrating here and saying that, yeah, finally, President Trump got kicked out from Twitter. I cannot believe that the same tech companies allowing Khamenei to use Twitter and order massacre in Zahedan, in Kurdistan, everywhere. The same tech company allowing Khamenei and like his gang of killers to enjoy to enjoy social media and order the elimination of Israel. And I'm publishing like the fatwa of Khomeini to assassinate Salman Rushdie, which recently happened. He was the target of the assassination plot. And 3 years ago, Khamenei actually published the fatwa of Khomeini against him. So you see, this is the struggle now, Iranian people. This is very frustrating. Iranians are asking, the tech companies to kick out all the dictators. But at the same time, I have to say, while the Iranian regime banning people, the young generation, they're really smart. They know how to bypass all the filtering and find their own way to use social media as a tool, first to break the censorship, second, to organize gathering. Many of these young people who are getting killed, they are the TikTok generations. When you go to their social media, when you go to their TikTok account, to Instagram account, it's very heartbreaking. You see that they're like every teenagers in the West. They want to dance. They want to, sing. They want to be happy. They just want to have a normal life. And the price of having normal life for them is just very high. It's just people are getting executed for the crime of using social media and having their own normal life.
Masih, maybe we could ask you a little bit about reactions from outside Iran. First, let me ask you, what's been the reaction and how do you evaluate the reaction of Western governments? The United States in the past has been criticized for being slow to support protests against the regime. President Obama recently said that it was a mistake on his part not to be more supportive of the 2009 revolts. Do you think that Western governments are acting appropriately?
I mean, if you asked me this question like a few months ago, I was furious. I was very angry with the reaction of the democratic countries, including the US. I was shocked the way that the US government were frustrated to get a nuclear deal from the same murderers who actually being condemned at the same time by the US government. But to be honest, now I'm very thankful to the US government who actually took the leadership for this resolution to kick out the Islamic Republic from United Nations top women's body. This is what we needed to see from democratic countries. The Islamic Republic is like ISIS with oil. The Islamic Republic is like ISIS with power, parliament, selection, which we don't call it election. And the only difference between the Islamic Republic and the ISIS is they're welcomed at the United Nations, they're welcomed at the EU, and that's only different. Otherwise, the ISIS behead people. The Islamic Republic hang people, hang teenagers for clearly saying that we want to have a normal life. We want to dance. We want to sing. We want to show our hair. The Islamic Republic kill women. So the ISIS take hostages, like, bring them on TV and bullying the Western democratic countries. Right now that I'm talking to you, the Islamic Republic are doing the same. The US citizen, British citizen, German citizen, French citizen, they're all are in Iranian prison and being used like bargaining chip to get a nuclear deal. So imagine a day that the leaders of democratic countries, instead of negotiating with this hostage takers, they downgrade their relationship, they cut their ties, they recall their ambassadors, they kick out all the diplomats and ask for the release of all innocent political prisoners. This is the concrete actions that we dream to see from the leaders of democratic countries. But I think we're getting there. The tone of the leaders of G7 has changed. Recently, I had a meeting with President Macron. He recognized Iran's revolution. And I had a meeting with Jake Sullivan. The tone of White House has changed. Thanks to Kamala Harris actually leading this resolution against the Islamic Republic at the United Nations. So it gave us hope that finally the leaders of democratic countries gonna actually do something for Iranian people.
So you mentioned before the Western savior complex, and that some in the West may have been hesitant to criticize the government because they view the hijab as a cultural issue.
Yeah.
Do you think that beyond Western governments, Western populations who support feminism in their own countries have been supportive of these protests?
Oh, that's a very good question, because I have been actually watching the Western feminists for like a couple of weeks. They were very hesitated to even touch the issue because for years and years, they have been receiving advice from Islamic apologists, especially like the well-known leaders of feminist global movement, like Michelle Obama, I don't know, you name it, like women of like the leaders of Women's March in New York, in Washington. They were quiet. They were not sure whether this is the right moment that they can support the feminist uprising in Iran or not. And then immediately when they saw that teenagers are fearless, schoolgirls are fearless in the streets, instead of waiting for the leaders of the feminist global movement to do something, they were actually the one leading one of the most progressive revolution. They had no option but to join Iranian women, So I give the credit to Iranian women that finally made the feminist leaders around the world to understand that. But still, many people, when I walk in the streets, now people recognize me because of like going to different media, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. I use all the media here to actually make awareness, to give voice to Iranian voiceless people. And I see that people have so many questions. Like ordinary women, they stop me, they give me a hug, but they ask that if we talk about compulsory hijab, isn't that going to be an insult to women here who choose to wear hijab? Or is it about like, you want to actually take off a hijab? You actually, and I was like, wait a minute, this is all about freedom of choice. How come that many leaders of like EU, like congresswomen here, some of the female senators here, they were the ones celebrating World Hijab Day. But for years and years, they were hesitating to condemn compulsory hijab. So for me and millions of women, it was very heartbreaking. But now when I see that a lot of feminists started to understand that, it's very heartwarming. And I actually want to use this opportunity to say that it's beautiful, the sense of unity that I see among well-known actresses here, well-known activists, well-known female politicians. They're cutting their hair, they're publishing videos and supporting us, but this is just the first step. We need more. And I think the time for international women have come to take to the streets, to have an international women's march for women of Iran and women of Afghanistan who are fighting against Taliban and Islamic Republic. You know, we have to keep this sisterhood. Otherwise, believe me, if we don't get united to end Taliban or Islamic Republic, they will get united and they will end feminism. They will end democracy everywhere.
Masih, let's go to questions from the audience. We're getting quite a number.
Sure.
Audience is super engaged. Please keep submitting them. A few different people have asked about your own personal safety. You were the target of a kidnapping plot last year by Iranian intelligence operatives, which was broken up by the FBI. A suspect was arrested near your home who was found with an AK-47. The Iranian government has a history of trying to reach out beyond its borders to suppress activists. Do you feel safe now?
Can I be honest with you?
Of course.
The word safe is too luxury for me and many other colleagues of mine, fellow activists, fellow dissidents, because look, as far as the Islamic Republic is in power, and as far as we dare to challenge the Islamic Republic, we are not safe. Doesn't matter where we live, inside Iran or outside Iran, because killing, assassinating, like kidnapping is in the DNA of the Islamic Republic. You know, it became like a diplomacy for the Islamic Republic. So I don't feel safe, but don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean that I'm scared of them. Not at all. I have only one life. And there is no difference between my life and the life of Sarina, only 17-year-old. There's no difference between my life and Nika, only 16-year-old. These women were actually leading the uprising by burning their headscarves, and they got killed. There are two young boys got executed recently, Mohsen Shekari and Majid Reza. And you know, when I woke up and I heard the news, I was like, I wish I could do something for them. So for me, I'm not scared of my life, but it is scary that in front of the eyes of the free world, innocent people, innocent teenagers are getting killed, are getting executed. But at the same time, you see some of the leaders of democratic countries still want to negotiate and get a nuclear deal with these murderers. This is scary. Otherwise, no, I'm not scared of my life. You know, they did everything to me. They went after my mother. My 70-year-old mother was interrogated for 2 hours. They put my brother in prison for 2 years. My brother has nothing to do with my campaign. They actually brought my sister on TV to disown me publicly. The FBI charged 4 people who were trying to kidnap me from Brooklyn. The FBI arrested a man with big guy with loaded gun in front of my house. Imagine if he had opened fire in front of my house, how many of like my family members would have been killed? How many of my neighbors would have been killed in Brooklyn? They did everything to make me feel miserable, but I don't want to live in fear and paranoia, and I'm going to make them feel miserable.
Masih, I now have 45 questions, one of the most I've ever seen in doing this in 2.5 years.
45 questions?
45 questions. I'll try to. I love
you guys. I love you. I mean, you have to invite me again.
We would be delighted to. Let me combine several different people have asked, what can people in the West, as distinct from Western governments, do to help, to support you, to support those who are protesting and revolting for freedom?
I like this kind of questions because these are very important. First of all, if you are teenagers, honestly, if you are teenagers watching me now, teenagers are getting killed in Iran. Teenagers are getting raped in Iranian prison. Teenagers are facing guns and bullets for demanding freedom, equality, and dignity. So you can do a lot. You can actually gather people, teenagers in your schools, universities, and be the voice of every single person who got killed, who got executed. And they are demanding you to be their voices, because this is not just a revolution for Iranian women, for Iranian men. No, this is a revolution to save the whole world from one of the most dangerous regimes. And that's why I strongly believe that you can be a leader in your own school, universities, everywhere, to have your own rally for the women of Iran and the women of Afghanistan. There is no difference between women in Iran and Afghanistan and women in the West. You know, in the West, people are watching the Handmaid's Tale series based on the book written by Margaret Atwood. No, this is the reality. This is the reality in Iran and Afghanistan. Girls being kicked out from schools in Afghanistan, girls being killed in Iran for just wanting to show their hair, girls being raped at the age of 7 in the name, sorry, at the age of 13, which they call it marriage. But this is, you know, this is rape. So that's why you can make awareness. Don't be scared of being labeled of Islamophobic. Believe me, supporting your sisters in Iran and Afghanistan never makes you Islamophobic. It makes you responsible. It makes you human being. That's all. So this is one thing that I want you to do for Iranian people inside.
Several people in the audience have asked what you've thought of the media coverage in the West of what's happening in Iran now.
I mean, I have to be honest with you. From the beginning, I was mad with the media in the West because, you know, they were not fully aware of what's going on. But now I'm very pleased that every day when I see CNN, MSNBC, big media, that they're really paying attention to Iranian revolution. And this is very important. But what we want to see that instead of just waiting for Iranians to get killed and cover the news, I want them actually to constantly, like, to give platform to the family members of those who got killed. They're ready to speak up. They're ready to speak up. Give platform to those who are not the apologists, those who actually have the clue that this is 21st century and we have to get rid of the Islamic Republic. Because, you know, I know that the word regime change is very dirty in America, because I've been told by many leaders from both sides, like Republican and Democrats, saying that we don't want to use the word regime change. But Iranian people are going to change this regime. And the media can help Iranian people to talk about this, to be heard, and send their message to the leaders of democratic countries. So now I think we're getting there, finally, media paying attention. I mean, for years and years, many media were lost. Even recently, New York Times were actually publishing the headline of, like the headline was like, victory of Iranian people. Finally, after 3 months of uprising, the Iranian regime abolished morality police. So what we want to do research and go to social media and don't buy fake news and disinformation from Iranian regime, because the demand of Iranian regime actually was not just to rid of morality police. So you cannot call this victory. And most important than this, that was a fake news. Otherwise, I'm happy that so finally media, they are paying attention to Iranian people. And I want them to do it. Keep doing this. Don't abandon Iranian people.
Yeah. The issue of the morality police supposedly being disbanded was widely discussed. What happened there, since it seemed to have been widely reported, and then activists such as yourself pushed back hard? And it seemed to be a particularly interesting example of how hard it is to cover Iran. Can you explain the issue?
Yes, look, first of all, the Attorney General said that he was questioned by one of the journalists that, where are the morality police? So in response, he said that we are not in charge of morality police. Another organization is in charge, but we're going to make sure that we want to give social service to unveiled women. But the part that he said that we are not in charge, the organization who was in charge, they actually canceled the morality police. They have to be the one answering your question. that didn't mean that they abolished morality police. So New York Times and many other media, they made it a headline as a victory that actually helped Iranian regime to mislead the rest of the world, because there was massive protest in Iran. And many apologists outside Iran as well, because this was actually being promoted by many lobbyists and apologists on social media first, on Twitter, and then immediately when New York Times and other media covered that, those so-called activists, they deleted their tweet without making an apology. So you see, that's why I'm asking media to be aware that when dictators like Khamenei, like Putin, like Maduro, like China, when they are shaken, when they are in crisis, they know the best how to use disinformation to mislead the rest of the world. And that's their tactics. They know this very well, but we should be aware of that we do not, let them to use international media, first to appease the protesters within the country, and second, to mislead the rest of the world.
We only have a few more minutes, alas. We could obviously discuss these issues for a long time. Masih, one member of the audience writes, how would we know, or what would you look at to say, oh, the revolts are going to succeed this time? What would be the event, the signal? What would have to happen for you to be confident that this time was going to be different?
That's a very good question. Iranian people did everything to get rid of one of the most barbaric regimes. But this is the time that the leaders of democratic countries should take strong and concrete actions, which can send a signal to Iranian people inside the country that, yes, this time is different. Look, I don't think this is too much to ask. When the regime is killing women and children, 62 children got killed in 3 months. How come you're going to negotiate with this regime? For me and millions of Iranian people, when we hear from Secretary Blinken publicly and strongly and proudly saying that the nuclear deal is dead, this is a signal. This would be a signal for Iranian women and men who are fighting shoulder to shoulder to get rid of one of the most barbaric regimes. When we see a day that the leaders of G7 say that, okay, this is the time, enough is enough, a regime who kill children and women should be kicked out from everywhere, international sport federations or from the EU. All the diplomats and their relatives should be kicked out. The moment that the leaders of G7 saying that this is the time that we have to recall our ambassadors, that's the time that we are self-confident and we will say, okay, our dream is going to come true. We will win this battle. And I have to say that as well. Look, this is not about Iranian people. Clearly, I'm not asking the Western countries to do a favor for us. Islamic Republic is not only a threat for Iranian, it is a threat for democracy. Right now that I'm talking to you, Khamenei is sending drones to Putin to kill innocent Ukrainians. Khamenei and his gang of killers should be accountable for killing innocent people in Syria, in Iraq, in Yemen. So you see, the Islamic Republic is a threat for democracy, and that is why I believe that democratic countries must get united and end this Islamic terror.
Masih, last question of what is a fascinating conversation. There's a very significant Iranian diaspora. Of course, in my city, Los Angeles, there's a very significant population of Iranian Americans. What message do you have for Iranians outside the country?
For Iranians outside the country, so simple. I don't want you to go back home until the day that we get successful to bring this regime down and take our home, Iran, back. I really want you to be the voice of Iranians, and don't get exhausted, don't get tired, don't get disappointed, don't lose hope. The Iranian regime took everything from us except hope. So we have to fight together, and believe me, together we will win this battle. This is all I can say. Use your social media. You send the letters to your local politicians, and be the voice of every individual person who actually facing guns and bullets inside the country who wants to end the Islamic Republic. Don't give up your fight.
Masih Alinejad, the woman whose hair frightens Iran. Great hair, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it, and we appreciate your observations, and we'd welcome you back at any time.
I really enjoyed the conversation, and thank you so much for giving me this platform, and thank you for continuing to be the voice of Iranian women and men. Thank you so much. I hope one day I can invite you to my country.
I would be delighted. And thank you also to the audience.
Yeah, I mean the audience as well. I'm going to invite you to Iran as well. Women, life, freedom.
And thank you. We hope you'll visit often. Masih, thank you. Thank you to the audience.